This is the Daily Divide.
The Greens have finally actually waka jumped the disgraced MP Darline Tana, which I think long overdue. She's gone, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, no, she's gone. Finally, she's gone. If you would have caught me yesterday, I would have been jumping for joy, not in a negative way, but I just think it was such a stain on the Greens that she just needed to go. Like, just for the good of the party, she needed to go. So yeah, there's not really much.
I think for the good of the party, but for the good of the country too. I mean, she was collecting a check to do nothing for nobody, as I've said in the past.
I do want to say this. Let's not make it an opportunity to jump on a specific to jump on someone or jump on a political party. I think in this occasion it's a bad thing. Let's not blow it out of proportion and say the world was going to end if she stood in and she stayed in Parliament, or the country was going to collapse. So that wasn't the case. It's one parliamentary salary.
Yes, I get that, but when I'm not bashing up saying that it's the whole country's going to fall, but when whatever that she was getting paid and she's getting paid, she doesn't have any constituents at the time of being kicked out of the Greens. She wasn't an electorate MP. She got in off the back of the success of the Green Party, and then she's tried to stay in there, and she's collecting her salary.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I think you can say that's only one parliamentary salary or whatever, MP salary or whatever, but actually, that's taxpayer money that's been spent, was being spent for somebody who wasn't representing any taxpayers, in my opinion. So I think it's not being blown out of proportion, but it's.
I do want to make this clear: the decision that the party has made, that their political members have made, is not final. Like that, what the decision of that party is for them to present it to Jerry Brownlee, the Speaker of the House, who will then make the decision to kick Darline Tana. So it's not final yet. It's still an ongoing endeavour. It's just final in that the Greens have made a decision, and that's their presentation to the Speaker. I wanted to make that clear. She's not out yet, technically.
Yeah. Well, I think it's inevitable unless something really crazy happens. I think it's inevitable she's gone. I think. I guess it's good, and definitely good for the country, and good that they can't just hold that as ransom and stay in there. So I think it's good in that aspect. But I think if you think about it, you got to look at it as well as the Greens will be really, they won't be happy about it, which no party would have been, but they really were actually opposed to the waka jumping law.
I think that's irrelevant, honestly.
Well, I think it is irrelevant, but I think if you take a deeper dive into the
that was
decision making.
That was 2001. Like the Greens only got in the 90s. They were a very young party by that time, very activist. Not saying they're not activists now, but they've very much, I would say, matured into a proper entity.
Well, I think if this whole Darline Tana scandal didn't happen, I think they would still have that view. But I think.
Well, I think the issues of waka jumping law is not without its the criticization of the waka jumping law is not without its flaws. I think it can become into a especially obviously the waka jumping law doesn't apply to, well, I don't believe it applies to electorate MPs, but if it was to apply to electorate MPs, that would be to a degree draconian. There are elements to it that you could see from a point of view that would be levelled against it as draconian.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the thing is like, really it is irrelevant. It's just more of a fun fact, I think, you know. But now that she's pretty much gone, it's it's not with it. We can actually finally stop talking about it because she's irrelevant. She did nothing for nobody, and I'm not going to turn it into a you know a bash of the Green Party. I'm not going to do that. But she did nothing for nobody.
Yeah,
As far as I'm aware, I'm sure she's helped some people, but she now doesn't have that platform to do it on a bloated salary, which I think is good.
I don't want to get personal. I'm not going to get personal, and I guess I just want to address this. There's a lot of reckoning on whether or not, or guessing on whether or not the Greens made the decision on political expediency or made the decision on values, or it's both, or it's none of them, or it's one or the other. And I don't really think any of that matters. I just think that it's just the right thing to do. So saying that
Well,
it's political
yeah,
expediency, it's not. It's not. You shouldn't do it because it's not political expedient. It's a waste of time because even if they lose that one MP, it's not like they've got a 1-seat majority. I think that's just absurd. When in terms of principle, I think that's irrelevant. I just think it's. I actually no. I do think it's on principle. It should happen. Principle. She did the wrong thing. Wins against the rules. She got kicked out. She needs to go because she's a list MP. There we go.
well,
Problem
I
solved.
think,
Let's move on.
well, I think, yeah, I think it's what she did. I think if there was something, if she had done something that wasn't what she did do, it was something different to what she actually did, I think it wouldn't have probably come to this. I think.
Well,
I think you got to look at the Green Party, and you got to look at it like they think that they think they're better than everyone else, but that's what they do. But I'm like I said, not going to turn it into an attack ad. But what I mean is having what happened with her and the alleged, or not even alleged anymore. I'll say
just say alleged, just
alleged,
just in case.
Yeah, alleged, migrant exploitation is, something that goes so far and, so, against the grain of the Green Party. It goes against the grain of every single political party in New Zealand. But what I mean is the Green Party have this clean image, or try to, even though, they try to have this cleaner image. So having what happened with Darline would have probably fueled this decision to go ahead with the waka jumping.
I think I want to make very clear. She was asked multiple times to resign. This was a last resort. This is last resort. So it's not, they got trigger happy.
Oh, absolutely not. But I think, you look at it in a way of, would they have, done the waka? Would they have used the waka jumping law if it was something that had have been different, something that wasn't so against what the Green Parties think that the Green Party believes in?
I think that's irrelevant. I think it's happened.
Wow.
We'll do that. It's happened. There's consequences to that. They've done what they needed to do. It's on to Jerry Brownlee to do his job, and we'll all get over it. I think that
I'm happy. I'm happy either way.
MP
that's another.
MP scandals, whether it's Green or a National, National for that, the commerce minister telling a worker to fuck off and get a bottle of wine or something like that. It looks bad on any political party's image, and
Yes,
so I think all of that is irrelevant. And so,
yeah, but you know what I mean though is something like that. Okay, that's not very nice, but compared to migrant exploitation is different.
well, it's not really about that. It's about use it in general, whatever scandal for whatever political party. I just use that because that's the most recent one. For whatever scandal, for whatever political party, that can be used to be levered against them. And I don't think any of that's productive. It's happened. Let's move on. Let's move to the next topic, something that's a bit more productive.
Yeah, well, I'm happy either way. That's a green MP. She's gone.
I mean,
A win-win for the country.
There's still a green MP. We're still, there's still the same amount. I don't like. That's the thing. It's not. It gets to a level where it becomes a bit petty. If it happened to national, I think you wouldn't really be. I think it just becomes uncivil politics. I just think it's a waste of time. We'll move on to something a bit more productive.
Well, yeah, we'll move on. I just that's my final thing is, like green. There's a green MP. She's not there anymore. So happy days for the country. Anyway, we'll move on, and I've sort of noticed this week, at least from what I was observing in the news, is there's actually not a whole lot of subject matter compared to the previous weeks. Maybe that's just me, but
there are some things happening. I guess the Wellington saga. I wouldn't call it saga. I'd call it a bit. In my opinion, I'd call it manufactured to an extent. Saga. Unless you want to talk about that, I don't know what is in. You're the host today. There's the other thing is that just read there's the highest. We've got the highest amount of beneficiaries since the financial crisis. I think 400,000. That's one. The next one, it's not again. Yeah, there's not really much in terms of politics.
I mean, I heard about the whole beneficiaries situation, and I guess you got to look at it in a way of like it's a hard time for business at the moment. That businesses are really finding it tough to turn a profit. And
I think that if in this case, I think if your first concern is businesses over 400,000 people having to use the benefit because they can't get a job or can't find a job, I think your priorities lie a bit in the wrong.
Well, I don't know
things.
I don't really know how that.
I mean, think that's a big employer intimidator closing down. I think that's yes, that's not a great thing for the business, but the big portion is the people that work there. That's the lifeblood of that community.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to say is without the business, that's the people lose the jobs, and then you end up with a situation like we have. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is without the businesses working, people aren't being employed, and at the moment, it's so hard for many businesses, and I've seen it on the ground where I am, and speaking to many business owners about how tough things are at the moment, and I think it's extremely upsetting for the people that have to use the benefit system because of these job losses, because of the state of the economy, which hopefully is by the looks of things, it will get back on track. It's a slow process, but it's we're working towards a better economy. But because it's so difficult at the moment for business owners, big business, small business alike, to continue to operate because of the state of the economy, it's all you're always going to have a problem like this. With 400,000 people using the benefit system, for example.
I mean, that doesn't. I don't think that. I think that's unemployment benefit. That doesn't include any of the other.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The job seekers allowance. Well,
I think it's that. It's around that. I don't know specifically. It's just something passing that I saw. But yeah, I don't know what's on your plan, but that's what I've seen.
Well, it's very. I'm just going to steer away from it just because I hadn't read up a lot about it. But 400,000 people is a lot of people, and it's not good for the country. It's as we can both agree to that.
I mean, I do have to say this just very quickly, like just a genuine question. When does it get to a point where you stop blaming the previous government and you start, taking into account what the current government's doing? Just a question. I'm not like no debate here. I just want to know.
Well, I think it's a hard, and it's hard. It's a hard thing because it's always going to be some form of blaming the predecessors all the time.
And of course, Labor did previously, and there would be some realm of truth to it. Just like there's some realm of truth to Labor, not to be an enlightened centrist, but the different aspects of your perspective would bring some truth to it. But I'm talking about here and now.
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, and the previous government are always going to say they didn't do this to cause this, and the current government's going to say, well, they did this, and this is why this is. That one party's not going to admit that they screwed up, just like the other party's not going to admit like they screwed up. But I think, if you're asking my opinion, I think the current government's doing the best job that they can do, given the state of things, to try and right the ship.
But the thing is, when does it get to a point where things are going terribly? What would your bracket? I guess I know the answer to this, but I'm willing to go down this road. What is your bracket of a national not doing good enough? What would your if you were to criticize the current government? What would your criticization? Because you hear you say a lot of these positive things that in your book are a positive, but what is something that they're not doing? What is something they're doing is not good enough, or what's something they're not doing what they should be doing?
You mean right now, or
in the future?
Well, I think right now that they've they're doing their best to balance the books. We've got crap infrastructure. They're doing their best, but I think for future reference, I guess, are you talking about me, like something that they would have to do for me to criticize them, type thing? Or
is there something that they're doing at the moment that you're not entitled? I'm like, instead of giving them props, but if you're just going to be critical of what the current government is doing, what would you say is a negative of what they're doing at the moment? Or could you name something, or could you say something that they could do that would be better than what they're doing at the moment?
Well, I think you could, I think cutting the cuts that they're doing, it's probably an unpopular thing to say, but more public sector job cuts, that we need more in certain areas, and possibly build them up in other areas, but more there. I think, I am critical of them. I think, bringing, for example, maybe, excuse me, another thing too is, bringing back the 39% tax bracket, cutting that completely out and going back to how it was before Labor changed it.
Do you think they'll do that, or is that just that's too far? There's a bridge too far for them in terms of public I mean, a good example of that it would be, carry on. Yeah, would you say that's a bridge too far?
Well, I don't think they're thinking about doing it now, but I think that would be something that I would like them to do. um, and
Yeah,
I guess I am critical of them for not doing that, but I don't think that you know. I think in the 2020 election cycle, I think they talked about repealing that, but I don't think that that's their current stance, and that's fine. But I think if you're going to ask me anything I could be critical of is, hey, look, we should be not punishing people that work hard. We should be, I think repeal the 39% tax bracket, just go back to 33%. And I am critical, I guess, of a couple of things.
I just think that I was just kind of interested there because I think a lot of things that I mean I would call that a bridge too far, especially for what they're doing currently is publicly unpopular. I mean Dunedin is. I think they've just effectively turned the whole region of Southland against the national government by cutting that Dunedin hospital out of it. It's I think the capital gains tax is 46% in favour, and then about 14% neutral is a damning. Whether or not you believe in it or not, there's a huge opportunity for the opposition to get a grasp on.
Yeah, but you.
Period. I'm talking about public. The reason why I asked you about those, what are your criticisations? I wanted to get a grasp of whether or not you believe things that are actually populist with the public. I think none of those are actually popular with the public, and I think the problem that the National Party could be guiding into in the next decade is they could completely. I mean, they already have, but they've just got a level of partially the only reason why Gordon's last government was against Labour. They voted against Labour, just like how people voted for Labour. The UK Labour against the Tories, they voted against the Tories instead of voting for Labour. Even though Labour in the UK sucked dicks. It's very similar. It was a very similar situation here. I think a lot of the policies that they would be instituting, and a lot of things that I think they will be instituting in the next term, which would be full-on privatisation, and what they're already currently doing in the health system, which is privatisation. What you're seeing with IREX and what you're seeing with Dunedin Hospital and what you're seeing with the increased support for the capital gains tax. I think it's not happening right now, but you're starting to see an underground shift to against national, and whether or not they can turn the tide and have their policies become more popular, or even popular enough where you can put a shell game like the previous national parties used to do when they sold off Kiwi Rail and sold off Air New Zealand and made a housing commodification and privatised everything in the 80s. Whether or not that can happen again, I don't know. That could probably happen. I just think there is an underground shift against national. Whether or not that Labour and the left can actually capitalise on it, it's out of my hands. I don't know.
Well, I think
I do think it's a shift against, apart from a worldwide shift to the right. I think the opposite's starting to happen in New Zealand. There's a slow angle to the left.
Well, I think the thing is okay. Some of the stuff that they're doing is unpopular, but it's going to, in my view, fix the economy in the long term. Having public-private partnerships, absolutely brilliant. I think we need it, because otherwise the government's just going to spend money willy-nilly, and we're going to be left to pay for it.
Look, we've had this.
We already don't have any money.
Look, I'm gonna advertise this limited series called Big Government versus Small Government, being released this week. Keep an eye on that. It's going to be released daily for this whole week. Watch that down in the bonus playlist. I'll put it up in the fucking video or some shit. I don't know. We had this debate about, but I'm going to say this really quickly. It's quite the opposite. The government is not. The government is, in essence, a service to the people. It is not a company. The best time to to spend is when you're in a economic crisis. You want to spend for jobs. You want to spend for assets to build assets and infrastructure assets to have effectively. I mean, if you want to speak in business terms, equity. So when you're in the good times, you can lower the spending and level everything off. Unlike as a business, when in bad times, you lay off and tighten your belts.
Yeah,
and
but
then
you don't.
the good times, it's lopsided, I think.
No, but that doesn't make any sense, because if you just keep spending money, willy nilly, like you say they should, to spend for jobs and that. Like, look, it's good to have jobs, but keep spending just means inflation's going to go up. Yeah. Now, inflation's now down at 2.2%.
That was projected, by the way, by the last Labour government. That was projected by Robertson.
It's down at 2.2% now.
It was projected by Labour. With the current spending, they've not moved the needle.
At 5.5%.
Which was in COVID.
Yeah. Well, no, that was 2020.
Well, after COVID,
2022,
I mean, the only time. I mean, if we watch New Zealand politics on YouTube, you've probably heard this a million times. But the only time that Labour has borrowed more than this national government was in the height of COVID. The last 4 years, I believe, the last 5 years. Last 5 years, I think it was. The only time that Labour had borrowed more than national was in the height of COVID.
All right. Well, here's the thing, though, is you're not. I don't think you grasp how it works.
No. I do grasp your thought process, and I'm not arguing against it. I don't think I'm arguing against your thought, because your angle is business. Like that's your mindset.
No. It doesn't matter whether it's business or not. Because if the government keeps lending money, spending and lending,
because
right?
It's then government inflation is a nation, or not, is a nation state.
And you've said it, right? You've said it is the government is a service for the people. Well, if the government just do what you want them to do, then the service that they're going to be able to provide is going to be much worse than what you think it's going to how you think it's going to work, because it's actually all it's going to do is mean that we're going to have to keep borrowing. All it means is we're just going to have to keep paying off debt for years and years and years and years and years, when actually if we just cut public sectors or some public sector jobs and cut spending where it doesn't need to be, and make sure that we balance the books in a way that is equitable for the country, that's how they're going to be able to provide a better service for people.
Watch big versus small government. This could be a little interesting trailer. Watch that. We won't go further in that. You might want to move on, because we'll be treading on old ground. And I think we want them to watch watch the Spotify.
Absolutely.
Follow Spotify, because we got the full episode out there. We'll move on for whatever other topic.
Absolutely, we'll move on, and just we'll go abroad actually. And the next thing I want to bring up is we're getting very close to the US election.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Commonwealth, the King and the Queen, but
Well, no.
We'll go. No, sorry.
About them.
You're the host. Sorry.
We're very, very close. Well, we're getting closer and closer every day. As
2 weeks, 3 weeks,
2 or 3 weeks.
5th
of November.
5th of November.
It's going to be very interesting. Any predictions?
I don't know. Do you want like, I don't really know. I can't really name the swing states that I think Kamala's gonna win, but I do think Kamala's gonna win. I don't know. I think it's very dependent. I don't know if you've been following American politics, but obviously it's been horrific, and if you've been following the recent news about FEMA workers being hunted down by local militia. That has been a result of Republican and Fox News fear-mongering and conspiracy theory driving it's fucking horrific if you're not keeping up with it. But this whole election's is looking like worse than the previous one, which was a cluster. Was a cluster. I can't keep swearing, but it was a fustercluck. I think that I think that it's very much dependent. I don't think Kamala will win on a landslide. And so with the election interference that Trump and the Republican Party have kind of been, and Elon Musk, of course, have kind of been heading off on, I think if it's a small majority, I think that's just going to create a constitutional crisis, especially if, Georgia, with its current issue, if you haven't been keeping up with that, with its current county board election members, if that works out in their favour and they're able to call into question if Kamala wins that state, it's going to be a constitutional crisis, and I can't put it succinctly, but it's going to be a wild ride. And a lot of people are saying this, and I kind of agree. You're not going to get the result on November the 5th. It's going to take a couple of weeks, and if it's going to take a Supreme Court decision, I'm not. If that gets to that point, then maybe not. Maybe Trump will win out of. But in my personal opinion, I think in terms of electoral college results, I think she'll win in a not a landslide. What's the opposite of landslide? Slim margins. I don't want your thoughts.
I think I don't really know this go round. What's sort of going to happen. Yeah, it's hard because I think Kamala's just she's just doesn't know what she's doing. Hasn't got a clue.
Good job stopping yourself. Yeah.
She hasn't got a clue. Same with her running mate. What a guy. I guess he's.
Have you been keeping up? Have you been keeping up?
He's. I haven't been, but I know what these two.
So
I think
none of the election subversion that have been headed off for effectively, I think 4 years, 5 now. With the Republican side has been an issue to you. That's not a problem,
No, well, what I'm saying is with.
Well, it's not about policy, right? In this case, I'm talking about electoral civility.
Well,
that's the real
thing.
problem.
I mean, I don't keep too up to date with it because I think, doesn't really concern myself right now. I should probably have a bit more of a view on it. But the thing is Kamala's just, hasn't got a clue what she's doing. Her running mate, he's just so
Well, could you give me some specifics about what you disagree with? In terms of policy, what would you disagree with? I guess Kamala Harris. We'll go with Kamala Harris because I don't really like Kamala Harris. We don't really align. I guess I'm an outside viewer of United States politics, but in terms of what I can see of Kamala Harris, I'm not in firm agreement. She is like National Party. She's sort of like the National Party liberal sort of thing if she was to run in New Zealand.
She's like right. She had. You look at the 2020 election when they were debating. She was debating. When she was debating President Biden. Well, you look at it. They fundamentally disagreed on a lot of things. But because she was offered her spot on the ticket, well, then she changes her views.
Well, she rescinded all of them because of mainstream media backlash. She never really believed Medicare for all, if that's what you're referring to. She just she's a politician. I don't like her. If she was to run in New Zealand, she'd run in the National Party. She does not align on pretty much most of my views. She's very hawkish on immigration. She's very hawkish in terms of war, even though
and that's the thing. That's the thing too.
She doesn't. She's not. I guess in terms of policy, that's very good that I can name off the top of my head. I think there was was it a 30? It was like $30,000 or $50,000 tax break for small businesses. I think there was a child credit for single families. There was going to be a tax credit for that. I don't know the specific number. Research that yourself. I'm thinking it off the top of my head.
Here's the thing.
Expanding, the Affordable Care Act. Strengthening it, among a couple of others, but not perfect.
Well, and you look at the border crisis they have over there. Absolutely just disgusting.
Okay.
Their crisis is getting out of hand, and she hasn't. I don't even know if she's been to the border to have a look. Probably not, but they need. She hasn't done anything about that with Joe Biden and the Democrats. They haven't done anything about it.
I hate doing this. Let's not talk about something we don't know, but I guess we'll go down this route. So they did introduce a very hawkish and conservative anti-immigration bill that they struck down. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do, but I guess you're ignoring it. They struck down the bill that would be very hawkish and very Trump-esque, especially in 2016 era-ish. That Trump struck down for the sake of, for using it as a political talking point against the Democrats. So, and not only that, like a lot of the policies that Trump started, Joe Biden has kept. So I don't know what you're talking about, and if you're going to bring up the numbers that I can't believe I'm saying these things because I hate, but if you're going to bring up the numbers of higher immigration or higher asylum seekers right now compared to under Trump it was COVID. Most of it was COVID-19, and it was of course it's going to be lower, and under Biden it's going to be high because it's after COVID-19. And again, it's the same policy. So it's
I think having someone like Kamala Harris in the White House, I won't go too much into it because, like I say, I don't know too much about it. But I think, in my opinion, having someone like Kamala Harris in the White House is just gonna,
okay. Let me
gonna make
let me make this
the
clear.
United States already looks weak with Biden at the helm. You put Kamala Harris in there.
Okay, I guess we're doing this. In what way does the United States look weak? Give me some specifics.
Not weak in the way like obviously they're
soft
strong.
Power, strong power. Like what way?
You just look at Biden. He's not.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about military capability, economic capability.
We are talking about that because when other leaders see the state of him and see how he is, and that's very.
He's old.
He's old.
He's old. He's
probably
not.
Got no business
he's not running. He's not running
there.
For president anymore. So why are we talking about it?
Well, it doesn't really matter, but he's still the president right now.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is this what it looks
also,
like?
He's the type of guy that a lot of foreign leaders have a huge respect for because he's been in the game for decades. He's a vice president under Obama. Yeah. He's huge friends with a lot of high ranking heads of state, especially in Europe.
He probably doesn't remember any of their names at the moment, but that's okay.
There's no substance there. There's no policy substance. You're just naming. You're saying I don't like this guy because he's he's old.
Well, no.
Could you name me some? Could you name some specific things that that under the Democrats or under Joe Biden that I guess you were going foreign policy that the US looks weak on?
Well, I'm not going to say.
I could name you one.
Whether they look weak or like that, I guess you look at it. There was no wars under Trump.
There we go. That's just a bogus because under Trump, he won. I don't know if you're going to bring up the Afghanistan, but he instituted that withdrawal. He dropped a lot. He killed a lot more. He increased the drone strikes around that period. He withdrew from the Kurdish area, subjecting thousands to being killed from Turkish armed forces. he dropped insane I don't know the numbers, but he's dropped an insane amount of bombs in Afghanistan. Drops the Moab, the mother of all bombs. But I think that's just a moot point, because if you name the wars that are currently happening, I guess one that's I could name you one. I guess you're not going to name it, but I'm going to name you one. The genocide in Gaza makes Biden look insanely weak because Netanyahu was just slapping him around. And the other one, I guess you might bring up, is Ukraine. If Trump was under Ukraine would get overrun, and you'd have a fucking fascist puppet state being overlooked in Ukraine, and then its language being ripped away. I mean,
that's not true. That's not true. I don't think
if you want to name specific wars, you just name a random.
It would have happened under him, but the thing is yes, and you look at Biden, just the way he carries himself now, because he is old, he looks weak.
I guess we're talking about this. I thought we were talking about the election though.
No, but this is what I'm saying is he looks weak. You put Kamala Harris in there, who wouldn't be able to organise a blowjob in a brothel.
Right, a bit of misogynism. That's good.
This is that's how it's not misogynistic.
Yes,
neither Joe Biden couldn't organise a blowjob in a brothel.
Okay.
He probably doesn't even know how to wipe his own ass at the moment. Yeah. But
I mean, okay, I guess we're going down the mental deficiency. I mean, I don't know if you're watching Trump right now, but he's not doing particularly too good, especially that little dance for 30 fucking minutes. That doesn't make him look too mentally sufficient to be head of state.
I'm not saying that, but I'm only discussing what I've seen.
So what, you're Jimmy Doring it? You're Jimmy Doring it. You're just saying that the Democrats are worse than Trump.
No, I'm saying that I've seen what I've seen over the past 4 years, which of course not too much, but you obviously see things like the decline of President Biden, and Kamala Harris, a lot younger, she's not going to have that deficiency. But I'm not saying he has a memory loss something, or a memory loss this or that, I don't know, but there's obviously something that's going on with him. It could be old age for all I know.
Right.
But, you're gonna have Kamala Harris coming.
Yeah, right. So obviously. But in terms of mental deficiency, let's go down that line. So who would you rather have? Let me make this clear. Kamala, if I was to say, she would be, effectively, if I want to be generalistic, would be sort of like Obama, maybe a bit better in some aspects, but would be in that sort of realm of.
Well, she's black.
Yeah, I'm talking about substance, but okay.
I thought that's what you meant.
Okay, but I'm talking policy in the most recent. The Democrat shift to the right. He's kind of a bit more corporate, so that she is sort of in that sort of realm. I know I have to be, in terms of specifics, she's not the same, but I don't want to get into it. It's a waste of time. But so if you had, so in terms of mental, like it's the same. Like, I mean, under Obama, did the country go to shit? I mean, not really.
Wow.
No, not really, to be honest. So I mean, okay. Okay. So are there any criticizations of Trump? I mean, if you any criticizations of Trump in any way, because you seem very clean to criticization, multiple criticisms. I don't know what are the word. What's the plural word of criticism? I don't care. Do you have multiple angry thoughts against Trump?
Well, I don't have any angry thoughts against anybody, but the thing is, well, I don't have any angry thoughts against anybody. I just have opinions of things that, and I'm not saying that they're going to get everything right. No one's ever going to get everything right.
Right, but could you name? Because I named you. I guess I don't want to do this, but I guess we're doing this. Could you name some policies that Trump's going to do that's going to make the country great again? Name me specific substance policies. Come on.
Well, I I will name.
If you're so brave and you're going to go outwardly and say, the Kamala's this, the Kamala's that, we don't want
Well,
Kamala.
I'm not saying that
blah,
I would
blah,
vote
blah.
for Trump either.
Right.
I'm just saying
But
that
in your
there's no way.
insinuation, Trump would be in office because either you would vote or you wouldn't vote, or you would advise people not to vote, which would, in likelihood, obviously, because less voter turnout, you have more conservative governments, including. I'm talking about America, not New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the Republicans. So in your insinuation, Trump's going to be president. So could you name me some things that would be good?
Well, I'd hope
because you wouldn't be in clear even if you don't vote for him. Right.
I'd hope it'd strengthen the border, throw out undocumented people.
Right. So the huge deportation, like tens of millions of deportees, is that a good thing?
Well,
of legal immigrants.
Well, no, you gotta
that's the insinuation.
That's not what I said at all.
That's
I
the policy.
said undocumented.
Right, but that's the policy. That's the policy.
I'm saying the policy is get rid of the undocumented people.
No, it isn't. It's immigration, full stop. And if you're black, especially, we don't want these brownies taking over the country. That's the insinuation. I mean, I don't know if you're keeping up with the was it Springfield fiasco? They're eating dogs, eating the cats. That was all snuffed up against the Haitians, who were all legal immigrants, who were all brought in because all the town, to boil it down, was do your own research. Obviously, was begging for, because they were in a economic fiasco, and they needed working people, and they were legal immigrants brought in, and this racist campaign against them, which was fueled for this fascistic deportation policy. It's fascistic. It just is. That's just a fact. Like if you are in support of this policy, it is inherently fascistic. Tens of millions. It would completely ruin the economy.
I don't know anything about legal immigrants, and if that is the case, then I don't support that. But you have to draw a line where illegal immigrants will say they need to go. They need to get them all out. In my opinion, I think that is something that Trump would be for, and I think that's what needs to happen. And even here, like if we look at it in like a New Zealand point of view, right? Like you don't have like an open border. I guess you can't. It's hard. You don't have the same.
But we don't. There are no open borders in the United States. That's what I'm trying to get through to you. There are no open borders in the United States. It's incredibly difficult in the United States currently to seek asylum, which is a lot of people, especially from gangs and violent situations down below.
Brilliant.
Down below. So you saying you insinuating that it is an open border in America is an absolute lie, because it's not. That's not happening. That's not happening. It's just not happening.
Well, if it's not happening, that's great, but they need to get rid of the people that got in there before they changed that. But what I'm saying is, right, we don't. Like,
that's not happening. Saying that there was a huge caravan of people coming up that's already come in because of some, quantifiable shut-off date, and you saying, right, they're in the castle walls, therefore they can't go. It's just not true. That's not happening.
No, it's not happening.
And you're referring to asylum seekers who have to go through the legal, the legal loopholes to go before a court, which is famously very difficult. And there's no guarantee, and more likelihood, especially you go in front of a Republican judge, you get refused. And that's, obviously, with Trump stacking the courts. And that's completely irrelevant. There are not enough judges anyway for it to be a decision to this long waiting line, which was another thing in that law that I quoted, or not quoted, but mentioned before. A part of that would have been to increase the amount of judges, so there would be more process of asylum seekers, so there would be less people. Because I don't know if you know this, if you seek asylum and you get a court date, you're allowed to move around in the country, but with this law there would be more judges to process them, so they wouldn't have to move around in the country, and then they'd be more likely to be refused and out of the country. That's what was voted down because Trump recommended against it to fight for it. So I'm trying to understand here what would make Trump close the border for other than political expediency or for what already is currently happening right now.
Well, I think the thing is like I don't know too much about it, like I keep saying, but like it needs to be like, I'm not saying that I insinuate that it's an open border.
You
I
did
guess
kind
it's
of.
not.
You kind
But
of
here's
did.
the thing is like in New Zealand, right? We don't have this problem because we're surrounded by water. We don't really have that problem. But
And we've
if
got
we have,
Australia to our left.
well, and like, but there'll be overstayers. Definitely would have overstayers in New Zealand. We need to get them out, or they need to sort out whatever they need to sort out. It's all this. It's different here, but what I'm trying to say is it's all the same. You need to go through the legal way of doing things.
People are doing that. That is happening. You saying it's not, it's just a lie. It is happening. You making this out like it's a war, like it's a battlefield. There's not open borders, but there's some in between of it isn't open borders, but it is because a lot of people come in. Or there was open borders like a couple of years ago, the first year under Biden, and now they closed it because they got scared. And now there's a huge amount of people running rampant, and gangs inhabiting apartment complexes, and wars breaking out. That's the insinuation that you're not mentioning. You're not mentioning any proper substantive thing in any sense when you mention the border.
Look, this is what I'm going to say. I won't discuss it any further, but I wouldn't vote for either of them. But there's no way in hell I'd be voting for Kamala Harris.
Could you name anything that you don't like for Trump? Apart from what he looks like. Like, would you say like the 20% of tariffs is a bad thing? It's just the only thing that he seems to be.
There's heaps of things that I dislike about Trump. I think
buddy with a lot of billionaires. Getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to to change a capital city in Israel. Anything really, to be honest.
Well, there's plenty of stuff that I think he could do better. I'm not buddy with anybody. I think all I'm saying is there's no way in hell I'll be voting for Kamala Harris to think she'd be the worst thing to happen to the United States, and I'm sure plenty of people agree with me.
Right, like Magites, the cultists, but like
no, not the cultists, not the mag, whatever you just said. But here's the thing: is Kamala Harris is just not the answer. I'm not saying Donald Trump's the answer. But Kamala Harris, the
what could you name something?
Good luck.
Could you name something that you don't like of Kamala? Because I don't think you have. Like you just saying the border, which I've just said is just. I don't know what you're pulling that out of Fox News, obviously. Because I've watched Fox News as well. I know the talking points.
He's never prepared.
You repeat the talking points off of fucking scripts because I know them the moment they come out of your mouth. Like, could you name something you don't like? Policy wise, don't just name. I don't like her face.
No. Okay. Here's the thing. She for one, she's never prepared when she wants. She doesn't have. She's not actually running a campaign properly for president. She's just using the fear mongering from the left.
Like
the
what?
Leftist media.
Sometimes fear mongering is actually kind of valid. Could you name me what their fear mongering is?
Well, I'm not going to get into it.
No, name it, please. Enlighten me.
Well, I'm not going to do that. But here's what I will say: is she's never prepared when she's talking to talking to the media. She's never.
What?
She never actually.
Have you watched her interview on Fox News? Did you watch her interview on Fox News? Did you watch her?
Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. But anyway, we'll move on, and I think we've spent enough time on this, and I think I'm not saying whether I'd vote for Trump, but I'm just saying there's no way in hell would have to freeze over for me to vote for Kamala Harris if I had the opportunity.
So it's more of, she's blue instead of, red. That's what it boils down. That's what I'm kind of hearing. You name these things that are Fox News talking points because I've fucking heard them before so many times. It's gonna grate my brain. There's no valid disagreements, especially in terms of policy. I have obvious disagreements with Kamala Harris. I don't like her one bit, but I'd rather vote for her than a fascist like Trump.
Well, you can say that, but I don't know. But I'm just saying,
Especially with the election subversion that you seem to completely disregard because, I don't know, that's not worth it. Because, I don't know, you haven't read up onto it, therefore it's not valid.
Well, I haven't read up onto it, so I'm not going to make a distinguished opinion. But
we'll move on, I guess. We'll move on.
We'll move on.
So who do you think will win? Who do you think will win?
I think Trump will win.
Are you a Republican or are you not a Republican? In terms of having a New Zealand head of state, as the King has visited Australia and left us out of the tour.
Yeah, you mean like a republic?
I just want to say that
a republic.
Yeah, they're not. The King's not coming to New Zealand, by the way. Our King. Just saying that. Are you a Republican or not? In that fashion?
It's not being called a Republican.
Isn't it?
It's a republic.
And you're a Republican. Like you want to be a republic. Like, isn't that what it is? It's not American. It's just
Shit, I don't know. Is that how it works? I thought it was just you being a republic.
No, you are a republic. Like a country is a republic, but in terms of who you are as a person and your beliefs, whether you believe in it, you are a Republican.
Yeah. No. I think when the time is right, I think yes, we need to be a republic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Out with the King, honestly. Out with the King. I don't give a shit about him, to be honest. I used to. I in terms of historic and monumental things, I thought, oh yeah, the King's great. But in terms of practicality, we've already got a head of state that's Kiwi. It's the Governor General. It literally is. It's ceremonial. The King's not our head of state. It's our Governor General. Like, we already appoint a head of state. I want to make this very clear. Like, people seem to think, people seem to think that, what would we do? It would be like America. It would be like America. It wouldn't. It honestly wouldn't. We already elect a president. It's called the Governor General. We would just keep the same system. We literally would. I mean, you have, I think France, they elect a president. Or do they appoint a president? No, I think they appoint a president. I think it's same in Germany. Or I think they might elect a president. Actually, no, I think Germany elects a president. I might be getting my wires crossed when it comes to that. Like, there are countries that are republics that have a president or a chancellor. No, have a president. It's a president and a chancellor. I'm getting my wires crossed. Sorry. My world knowledge is going through the shitter. Who appoints their president, right? And so we already do that. It's just a matter of changing the name. And yeah, I guess in terms of costs, we should wait, but 100%, we might as well just cut the cord. I mean, and then it's not the thing would leave the Commonwealth or leave the Commonwealth Games. That's not going to happen. No fear about that, because that's not going to happen. Already Commonwealth nations that don't have the King as the head of state are still part of the Commonwealth. I can't name the countries off the top of my head because I've got a terrible memory, but there are countries there. So this, I just don't see any. And also, in terms of practicality,
I think I don't have too much of an opinion, but I think being a republic, I'm into that.
Yeah, it's just and the thing is, we already are technically. Like I said, we already are. Like, we're not gonna. I don't think we should elect a president. I think it should be a ceremonial role. A well-respected head of state. Like, I don't know, name of someone off the top of your head. Someone that you can respect, like the speaker of the house, basically. You catch my drift? Someone that we already do with the Governor General, a well-respected political or non-political individual that we just put as head of state. That would be ceremonial. That's what we can do when we become a republic. We don't necessarily have to change the way the Westminster. We don't have to change the Westminster structure. like that doesn't have to necessarily happen.
Yeah. Like I said, I think being a republic, that's all. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's better than. I think that's where we need to start heading.
Yeah. Anything else? Because we are hitting an hour.
I haven't got anything else.
Yeah, cool. Bye.